So Mike is going to talk to us for a while. We have a lot of, he asked us to have questions. I've got a lot of questions. And of course, everybody here is welcome to ask questions too. You'll see a note in chat. We're doing things a little differently because Microsoft unfortunately decided to unimprove itself. So if you want to ask a question or make a comment, there's a little, you can use the little sign. Okay, Mr. Mike, please welcome, and we turn it over to you to get started. And okay, that picture is down.
Well, the picture is up, isn't it?
Okay, great.
Yes.
Can you see the picture of Martin Luther King's?
Yeah.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for having me. I'm delighted to be here. And I'll take this picture down in half sec, but I got to explain it first, because really it explains what got me so committed in a political life, which I have led all these years. When I was little, I was 17 when Martin Luther King was assassinated, but my mom had been very active in the civil rights movement in Kentucky for years and years. And I mean, to the point that, our house was shot at and we had a second phone line because we got so many abusive calls and things. But you'll see that picture. Everybody knows that picture, right? That's one of the most familiar pictures in our world. That's my mother's car right there. That light blue Cadillac convertible, because she was standing down in the parking lot waiting to go to dinner.
Wow.
So I was raised to understand that you can change the world, that you can do things that will change the world. Is the picture gone now?
Yes.
Thank you. So that's how I grew up, understanding that we all have a responsibility to do it and we should do it. And I'm preaching to the choir, I know, but it gives you a little bit about what has kept me understanding that we can change the world. We just can't give up the notion of trying. Now we can talk about Kentucky politics, because it is something that's getting more national attention these days. But before I do it, I will recommend everybody, and I think it's free, you can read Kamala Harris's excerpt from her book in The Atlantic. It just dropped this morning. It's a short excerpt, but it's fascinating because she dumps on the White House staff that she said simply would not back her up. She says that when the stories were unfair or inaccurate, the president's inner circle seemed fine with it. Indeed, as it seemed as if they decided I should be knocked down a little bit more after she got negative press. When the Republicans mischaracterized my role as border czar, no one in the White House comms team helped to effectively push back. Then she says, their thinking was zero sum. If she's shining, he's dimmed. None of them grasped that if I did well, Biden would do well. So apparently this book is going to be some read for those of us who are junkies. And I use the term junkies. I used to say I was like a crack baby, that I was born addicted to politics. But people have told me that's not appropriate anymore, which apparently hasn't stopped me. But
Glad we gave you that opportunity.
The more I say it in safe places, the less I'll say it where I shouldn't. Kentucky politics. It's a fascinating situation because we've got Andy Beshear, who is running for president. He's not thinking about running. He's not considering running. He's not open to running. He is running. I used to make a joke about those of us who run for office and all of us, you know, the old line, looking in the mirror and seeing a president, is that when I would speak of somebody who I knew was crazy ambitious, I'll say Mary Smith. I'll say, well, you know, if Mary were in a meeting late in the afternoon and they're showing slides and it's dark and she just ate lunch and she's kind of half dozing, and somebody came up behind her and said, Mary or Mrs. President, your helicopter's waiting, she'd be up and out of the room in a second. It's endemic in political in us. All of us think that way. And Andy has good reason to think that way. He was clearly on the short list last time. He would have been a good addition to the ticket. He would have done well. You know, there's always that fascinating question that goes back to John F. Kennedy in 1956, coming so close to being the vice presidential nominee for Stevenson's second run. His dad told him not to try. He said, Stevenson's going to lose and you'll be on a losing ticket and you'll be a loser. He decided to try and tried very hard. His father was in the south of France in 1956's convention, so he wasn't there to slow him down. And Kennedy and his brother Bobby worked like crazy to win that and didn't. And they have said since they were better off not being on the ticket in 1956. So the question is the parallel to Andy. Is Andy in a better position than he would have been had he been on the ticket? Of course, you can't go back and rerun it, so you don't. You'll never. The answer is always just subject to conjecture. But Andy in Kentucky, that's always been people's theory that, you know, Andy won Kentucky, he can win red states around the country. I don't want to be negative about it or throw water on it, but it's not an entirely comparable situation. A few things. One, Andy won by less than half a point, both elections, 23 and 19. And what I tell people is in Kentucky, it's not that you're this, that, or the other, it's that you have a D behind your name as a Democrat on the ballot, because we have party straight ticket voting in Kentucky. You can pull the lever at the top, metaphorically speaking. And he has a B after his name. He's Andy Beshear, a Beshear. His dad was first elected to office in the 70s as a state rep and then attorney general, then lieutenant governor, lost a governor's primary. Then 10 years later, in 1996, he came back and was the Democratic nominee against Mitch McConnell, about whom I'm sure we'll be speaking today, and lost that race. And then in 06 or 7, came back and won the governor's race when there was an incumbent Republican who was very badly wounded by this, that, and the other. But still, Democrats didn't want to run. We hadn't won a statewide race since Clinton in 96, who only won it by half a point himself. Clinton won Kentucky in 92 and 96 by 25,000 votes each. And Democrats didn't want to run for governor. Steve Beshear, Andy's dad, literally went around and said, I don't really want to run, but I'm gonna unless you will. And he said it to half a dozen very legitimate candidates. But none of them wanted to run. He ran and was successful, again, because he beat an incumbent Republican who was finishing his first term and was just a schmuck. And then got reelected against a schmuckier guy who had been president of the state Senate, and the Republicans invested nothing in him. So he got elected twice. Then in 2015, a good Democratic candidate named Jack Conway, our attorney general, ran and got creamed by a Republican. In 15, it was we're often kind of like Virginia in the year after the presidential race. We're the year before a presidential race, and we often do show some trends. And certainly 2015 did, because a guy got elected governor of Kentucky named Matt Bevin. And Matt Bevin had run the year before in the primary against Mitch McConnell as a Tea Party candidate, if you remember the precursor to the Trump movement.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what that was, really. And that's what Trump recognized. You got to give him that. So this guy, Matt Bevin, ran the primary and then won the next year the primary for governor by 83 votes against, you ready for this? Jamie Comer, who is now the most well-recognized Kentuckian in the U.S. House. So Matt Bevin wins the 2015 race by 9 percentage points. I mean, it was a landslide is usually defined as 55-45, 10 points. So it was essentially a landslide. And then he was a jerk as governor. And just the teachers marched on Frankfurt to talk about the education issues that he was screwing up. And he said, their children being molested today because they're not in school because their teachers are up here. And it was, Carol Pye remembers these things. It was just hilarious. And so, then I guess got to tell you, he, just to make sure he would get himself beat, he goes to the Cincinnati suburbs of northern Kentucky, which is the third largest voting bloc in the state, and says that if we build a new bridge to replace the one that's literally falling down, there's going to have to be tolls on it. So he ran as pro-toll. I mean, nobody does that. And he actually pretty much volunteered it. He wasn't asked a hard question, will there be tolls, yes or no? He just kind of volunteered it. So Andy beat him by half a point. And then 4 years later, he beat one of the candidates who's now running to replace Mitch, Daniel Cameron. And Cameron's never really got traction, but he did have an R behind his name. And it was a very close race. And remember, Kentucky is really two states. And Andy won it in the urban suburban state of Kentucky. And that is, if you just picture our map, Cincinnati, Lexington, and then Louisville. There are 3 points of the triangle, and it's completely different than the rest of the rural part of the state. And he won Jefferson County Andy did. Jefferson County is Louisville, by 100,000 votes. And he won the election by thousands. So to the extent that he can fight the red tide nationally, he has learned, though, and this is what he's been very effective by, because he carried a dozen plus counties in the state beyond the triangle that I just discussed, Louisville, Lexington, and northern Kentucky. And he carried those rural counties by showing up, by showing that he would show up for disasters especially, but also for just regular ribbon cutting kinds of things, and is continuing to do that to this day. And Bill Clinton, I just saw a quote, Bill Clinton said, and I wish I had thought about this for today and I would have it exactly, but his point was, the first thing you've got to do is show that you want to be friends. That he found when he was running for president that he could go places where Democrats didn't do that well and introduce himself and say, I want to be your friend, let's talk. And then to find out the things that were important to those people And he was comparing it to what we Democrats keep trying to do, which is go and tell people why they're wrong to vote against their interests. You can't tell people they're wrong. You have to help them get there themselves. And I think Andy Beshear understands that. He doesn't lecture people. He's really good about that and a good communicator. So it's going to be a fascinating time. Because the other wrinkle is there's a real effort in Kentucky by some very wealthy folks who contribute hundreds and millions of dollars nationally to get him to run for Senate. But he is not going to run for Senate next year. And there are a number of reasons, mostly that he wants to run for president. And he feels that's what his calling is. And then secondly, that he committed that he would serve a full term if he got reelected in 2023. Now, of course, many other candidates have gotten out of that full term pledge, but he has no intention of trying.
Mike, if I can jump in, why are these wealthy folks supporting him? What do they think
They
he's
th
going to do for them?
well, because they think he's the only Democrat who could win in Kentucky in the Senate race next year, and the U.S. Senate balance of power is so close that that seat would make a huge difference. And they're right about that, both of those things.
But they don't think Republicans would give them better chance of making money, keep lowering their
Oh no,
taxes.
these are good rich people. It's one of them is the family, if you know Brown-Forman, who
Yes,
distillery that has Jack Daniels and
yes.
Woodford Reserve and all sorts of things. That family, a woman named Christy Brown, who is a huge philanthropist, and she is, you know, a mega donor, probably given $1 million in the last cycle. She is really spearheading that. She wrote an op-ed piece. And so, but we do have a Senate race coming up, and I think that it's only fair for me to let Judy take charge because we're 15 minutes in. And
Introduction. I want to ask a few questions about you as a person, and then we're going to get right into the Kentucky scene. Well, I want to say too, you answered my first question, is it Louisville or Louisville? But actually, I have a question related to that. If I, as a New Yorker, say Louisville, do I sound like a phony? Only people down there can call it Louisville?
no, we all no, we want people to know to call it Louisville. Yeah,
Okay.
we're flattered when people call it Louisville.
Okay. And I asked you yesterday, maybe you can tell us again, why is it the bluegrass state?
Because
Is
that's the strain of grass. It's called bluegrass that is uh, really good for horses. And it's, you know, it's a thing. It's a real
okay,
thing.
good. I want to ask you about you. And my first question is, who are you anyway? So we know you've been in the Peace Corps, as you told us, and Mike has a picture. That picture on the wall, maybe you can show us, has Bill Clinton in it and a very young Mike. There you go.
Does it
Thank you.
show?
Yep, yep, we see it. Thank you. So you started off the Peace Corps with your wife, if I remember correctly. You became a congressman, been a consultant for Democratic candidates, and a talk show host. So what connects all these, or are they connected?
Uh, well, the talk show was a relatively short time in the about 25 years ago, 23, where we were trying to provide an alternative to Rush Limbaugh. And I got sponsorships from a bunch of unions, especially, and some other concerned people. But I learned a hard lesson over 3 years of doing it that conservatives want to hear their opinions parroted back. liberals want to have a discussion about it and want to learn things. So they don't follow talk radio and don't don't do what the conservatives do. Like in Fox News, which existed then, but was nothing as it is now, is the exemplar of that. They just want to. You saw it in the discovery in the Fox lawsuit where they settled with the voting machine people, where in their emails they said, we can't get too far away from our listeners, our viewers. Our viewers are saying the election was stolen, so we got to say it. So that's the difference between those two markets, the conservative market and the liberal market. So I tried it. It was easy, but I had some great guests because people selling books will call into anything. So I had some really enjoyable times getting to know people on the phone through the radio.
So when you were a talk show host, and you finished for the day, you went home, did you continue talking a lot, or did you say, that's it, I've had it?
They're going to have to shoot my mouth after I die to get me to quit talking.
Okay. The also on the talk show hosts, I wonder, we know there are people like Sean Hannity, who's on TV, who's on the radio, many, many hours, and others on the more liberal side. How are, and we have NPR, of course. How are guests screened? And when you were on, were they screened? How did you deal with them? What happened if you got a weirdo or a total nut? Tell us more about that process.
Oh, it's a 7-second delay, which people have often said I could use in my day-to-day life. But you've got 7 seconds for people to show their true nature and then dump them, and it doesn't go on the air. So, but you had a screener, you had a nice guy, 2 people I had over the 3 years, and they were both awesome people. The woman who worked doing that had worked for the African-American comedian who was vulgar and everything.
Red Fox.
Thank you, Red Fox. But they would talk to the people and screen them, and you just don't get that much. I never unlisted my home phone number in all my years in public life, back when there were phone books, and you just don't hear from people. People are remarkably nice.
So you worked with Bill Clinton, and you said he was off ogling a woman. Tell us more about him, not just the sexual side, but just in general. What was he like to work with? What did you think of him as president? How much was Hillary involved? Because he talked about you're going to get 2 for 1, which I think hit him in the face. But tell us more about how he ran and what he was actually like as president.
Well, the first thing I'll do is tout a book called First in His Class by David Marinus. And he really captures Bill Clinton, and he wrote it in the first 2 years of the presidency. Because Clinton is exactly what you see, except he's even more than you might imagine, in that he is probably the best politician of our era. He is as good at it as anybody will ever be. And when you read the books about Hillary's campaign in 2008 and then again in 2016, you will see that in both races, they were called the white boys by I forget who coined that phrase. It'll come. Donna Brazile said the white boys around her wouldn't let Bill Clinton help them, which is ironic because you'll remember that Tipper Gore wouldn't let Bill Clinton help Al Gore in 2000. I don't know if you all remember that whole kerfuffle, that Al Gore would not let Clinton campaign. smart people around him said it'll hurt you more than to help you. And there's no question that he could have helped in that campaign. And the same thing in 08 and 16, because he is just, there's a Southern phrase, he's just eaten up with politics. He just, he so loves it, and he is so smart that he is as good as anybody will ever know. Obviously, he has the character flaw, but it's not like he's starving the children who are no longer getting AID money around the world. So, there's evil and then there are flaws.
Right.
But
And
he's a fascinating, and he's just, let me add this one
go
thing.
ahead, please.
He's just exactly as you see him, because I've spent time with him. Another picture I've got in the house is playing cards with him on Air Force One. And he's also just, he came to Louisville day after a State of the Union, when the presidents used to go out and reinforce the messaging of the State of the Union the day after. So he chose Louisville because Kentucky was such a close state for him, and no longer is a battleground, but it was for him. And we flew down and chatted a little bit, and then spent the day together, and then flew back. And leaving the airport, I wanted to show him a base closure problem we had. If you remember the Base Reduction Commission, and he was just so game. I had found out from the pilot that we were going to be taking off to the south, which meant we had to get on the other side of the airplane, Air Force One, from his office. Because normally he gets on the plane, goes to the office, everybody else goes and finds their seats, then he comes and shoots the breeze. But I said to him, Mr. President, I need you to do me a favor. I need the people of Louisville to know that I'm talking to you about the Naval Ordnance Station, the base closure. And he said, well, you have been talking to me about that. I said, well, I know I have, but I need, and he said, what do you need? I said, well, I need you to sit in this seat on the other side of the plane next to the front door. And he said, sure. And that's the way he was. He didn't hesitate for a second because he knew what it meant to me. And he's just that nice a guy. And he also just doesn't forget a name. He is just blessed with that, which I don't have. And so he's the best Democratic politician we'll have known in our lifetime.
Or a great extrovert. Are most politicians you've met and dealt with extroverts?
Well, the good ones, the successful ones, I've known a number who just didn't like people. They wanted to help the people. They wanted to change the world. I don't doubt their sincerity at all. And I'm not going to name names, but there were just some.
Do.
No, you wouldn't know them. You wouldn't know them. But they're just people who just, they didn't want to hear about the story of Judy Langer. Judy, tell me about yourself. They wouldn't do that. It wasn't in their nature because they had a plan. Part of it is you've known a lot of people, everybody has, who are just driven to succeed, whether it's in school, in their job, whatever, in sports, and that's all they see. They are just so narrowly focused. And those politicians, therefore, aren't seeing the people, and they're not able to connect. And it shows. It absolutely shows in politics if you really care about people. Remember that line about the movie star who was doing the interview, and the interviewer says, so what is it about it that gets people to know you and like you? And they said, well, it's that camera. It comes in so close and it really sees you, and it can see if you're real and sincere. And once you can fake that, you got it. Well, in politics, you can't fake it. People have succeeded in spite of it, but you can't. I'd say Mitt Romney might be an example of that. When you see him, he doesn't. And George Bush, a little H.W. Bush, President Bush, when he didn't get the question, in that debate in North Carolina in 88 or 92, when the woman asked how the economy had affected him. He wasn't thinking about what she was saying. He didn't, he cared about people. Goodness knows the first President Bush cared about people. So that's your
Yeah.
answer.
Tell us, why do people go into politics? And um, some of, I assume idealism may be a part of it. Do they get corrupted later? Do they hoping to make money? Do they like the power? They like the attention? And I'm asking also because I can't think of anything worse than being in politics. You know you're going to be attacked for what you did in elementary school on up, maybe even younger. Uh, and, it's a pretty vicious sport from what I can see. So I don't get it. Why do they go into politics and why do they stay in politics?
All of the above that you just cited, but the attention, don't discount that. We love attention. We just love attention. And then don't discount the desire to change the world. As you said, some get there and get corrupted. Uh, the more common is, and Joe Biden, I think, probably fell prey to this as much as anybody in history, or at least our modern history, that if I don't run again for reelection, the country's going to go to hell because only I can do it. And so vanity, the attention obviously is a reflection of vanity, attention seeking, and that only I can do it really is a problem. Uh, but don't discount sincerity, except among the Republicans in the House. There's a guy today who said, when I watched some Twitter stuff this morning, and Manu Raju is showing people Trump's signature on the letter in the birthday book, and showing House members and Republican House members, and they're all saying, "I believe President Trump," which, by the way, is the step just before you say he's over, he's done. Not that they're going to get to that step until after their primaries next year. But one guy from Springfield, Missouri said, "I don't want to see it. I don't want to see that letter." I mean, you talk about willful, what's the
Blindness.
denial? Thank you.
Blindness. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but don't discount idealism. I mean, really, when I got elected to the legislature, I said, well, I want to have to start paying more attention to sports. So I have something to talk about with my new colleagues. And I pulled a trick out of Lyndon Johnson's book when I got there. I would see a group going to lunch at like 11:30, and I'd go with them. And then we'd have lunch and we'd walk back, and I'd see another group going to lunch, and I'd slide over and go with them because I wanted to get to know 138 people, 137 beside me. And it worked. I was successful up there, passed some stuff and had lots of fun. And when I got there, they weren't talking about sports. They were talking about their bills. They were talking about what they wanted to do. Because at that time, we only met every other year for about 3.5 months, and you only had that chance to get it done. And that's what they talked about. Even the craziest, most absurd people I ever met or dealt with in life still wanted to talk about what they were doing, what their bills were that session. It was so heartening.
If you can unmute, you have a question or a comment, come on in.
Okay. Hi, Mike. Can you comment on the New York City mayor's race? I'm scared out of my mind.
Well, he's winning 2-1 over.
He's winning. What do you think about that?
That it's classic Democrats overthinking. And I'm a Hakeem Jeffries fan. I'm a big fan. I've got a picture he signed for me. He was drunk, but he still signed it. No, I'm kidding. He's a nice guy. But I think that they are overthinking our reaction to him, because Mandami was, overwhelmingly elected in a primary. And primaries generally get us the best candidates. Now, that wasn't true for Republicans in 12 and 14 around the country when they kept nominating these schmucks for Senate, and we kept the Senate on account of it. So there are exceptions to it. But we should just say he's our Democratic nominee and we're for him. Because he's going to win.
Thrilled.
I mean, I'm scared about his anti-Semitic views, and he keeps on talking about it. It's not just once or twice.
Well, it's interesting that that's how you come back on that, because I don't live in New York City. I was born in Scarsdale, but we moved down here when I was 5. And I follow it very, very closely. But I still forget the issue of Jewish voters that Jewish voters have. And so when you say Mandami, I don't think anti-Semite. I think socialist Democrat. So I forget. So I better give a little bit of slack to Hakeem. I should give him some slack because that's his issue he's got to deal with. I mean, how anti-Semitic is the guy as a voter?
Everything that I've heard is really against the Jews.
There's a lot of disagreement on that in New York.
Recently, he said he's not going to give Israel any money, or support
I
it.
missed that.
Yeah, that was the other day. And also, all the protesters at the colleges, they're not allowed to be arrested. I mean, it's just mind-boggling.
It's New York politics is so cool. I've even read a book about Norman Mailer's campaign for mayor. There is a book that I just ran across one time and bought. So yeah, I am not a New York political strategist, but I feel your pain, because we don't need somebody who doesn't support the state of Israel.
Of course not.
Thank you.
No.
By the way, Mike, where in Scarsdale did you live?
He was he left when he was 5.
No, I've been back to the house to see if there's a plaque or anything.
Okay. Do you know where it was at White Plains?
Edgemont Road.
As a matter of fact, I raised my family on Butler Road in Fox Meadow. But what I wanted to ask you about, I was on the staff of a congressman who ran for Senate.
I'm going to guess. I bet it was Dick Ottinger.
You're absolutely right.
I was told.
No fair. No fair. He didn't fit the mold in that he came from a very wealthy family, was rather shy, was really not a political person, was really an idealist. But he made the mistake of saying that he would run in every county in New York State. And of course, upstate New York is like Kentucky. And he had political consultants. And I wonder if you ever knew or used or had thoughts about the Maris brothers, whose profession was being political consultants.
Say their name again, Maris?
Maris, M-A-R-I-S.
Yeah. No, I don't. But I do have a letter from Dick Ottinger. My mom reached out to Ottinger when he was on the short list for VP when McGovern had to get a new one. And she asked him to employ me. And he wrote a really nice letter back saying, I'm sorry, I didn't get the nomination and therefore I couldn't employ Mike. But I still got that letter from Dick Ottinger.
He was a really nice guy.
Yeah, that's great. So um, let's talk about Kentucky in general before we jump in and well, actually, I'm going to change that. The question has come up, of course, about the Epstein files. Is that an issue that's going to go away? And where does it fit in with what Trump is doing and his success or lack of success as president?
I think you all have the same feeling, I'll bet. The louder he squeals, the more the pain's going to be for him, or the more he fears the pain. He clearly has some culpability, or he wouldn't be lying so much. Because think about the letter in the birthday book. There are still a handful of people alive today who, under oath, could say, "Yeah, I remember taking that letter over and giving it to the to Epstein's people." That he cannot get away from that letter. And the whole thing is so creepy. So you got to figure he either has or feels that maybe there is an underage girl that he had sex with. I mean, that's
He's
all
also,
he did.
go ahead, sorry. Well, he's also trying to say other people, including Bill Clinton, whom you just discussed, went with Epstein on his flights, which of course doesn't mean they knew about or were involved in sex trafficking. Could have meant it, but we don't know. How would you comment on that, Bill Clinton's role?
That's not going to help him. It's a nice distraction for Trump, but will will the people who are racist and sexist and homophobic and the other attributes of a Trump supporter ever get off the guy? And we've told people that they're voting against their interests, and that hadn't worked. You got to remember, in Kentucky, we rely more on the things that Trump is cutting than just about any other state. We're right up there in the top X number. And it doesn't seem to matter. He won those counties this time that he had won them before by 80-20, counties that we used to win by 80-20 just 30 years ago. So I don't know what's going to happen. It's fascinating. Also, and this is far afield, but his not being seen in public for that long weekend meant he was getting an IV or there was something going on that he could not allow himself to be seen. Because of his narcissism, he cannot go off without being on TV for that length of time without a reason. But he obviously is physically able to get around and yell at people. So
people get involved in politics. What about Trump? Is that all? You mentioned his narcissism, which I think a lot of us would agree with. Is it for the attention? What's really the deal with him? And is it any different now when he talks about retribution than his first term? No, I mean,
he's the same guy he was. If you've read any of the books about his growing up, he was just as nasty. He was raised by a man who was just reprehensible. He was raised by a mother. I don't know if you all have read this, and you all live in New York and you know about the laundry rooms and buildings, right? They were coin-operated laundry rooms, and his mother every weekend would drive around and empty the bins, take the money out, the coins. And I'm certain she did it personally so she could avoid paying taxes on the income. But
wow.
routine. And remember, he grew up with a dad who, when he was a teenager, when Donald was a teenager, his dad set up a company to supply his apartment empire with supplies, cleaning, paper supplies, etc. So that new entity was owned by his children. that new entity would buy the materials, then mark them up 400%, sell them to Trump's apartment complexes as a way of avoiding inheritance tax for Donald Trump's father. I mean, he grew up with just a complete commitment to breaking the law and just an understanding that that was normal, that you watched out for yourself. And so we shouldn't be surprised by anything that guy does. He showed us, he told us who he was, and he proves it every day.
To Kentucky politics, why don't we start off with your good friend Mitch McConnell, and who has, from what I understand, feel free to contradict because you know a lot better, detests Trump, but nevertheless is responsible in large part for his not getting impeached. But so talk to us about the Trump-McConnell connection, and then love to hear more about McConnell in general. We turn it over to you.
I've known McConnell since the 70s when he first ran for office. He is no different now than he was then. He is single-minded. When I was talking about those people who were single-mindedly working toward their goal, that is he. He is able to feign liking people better than most politicians, but he doesn't really. And I don't, it's just not his nature. His nature is to have a goal and work toward that goal. And he has succeeded in that. His goal was to be the longest serving senator from Kentucky in history, and he succeeded. His goal was to be the longest serving leader of a Senate party caucus, and he succeeded in that. And his goal was to turn the Supreme Court into an evil body. That's not the way he would put it, probably, but he has succeeded in that. His willingness to take a Supreme Court seat and 8 months before an election say, well, we're going to wait for the election. And then 4 years later, take a Supreme Court seat and fill it in a record time, 6-8 weeks. He filled that last vacancy, he always comes up with a rationale. And the rationale there was, well, that was when the Senate was run by a different party than the president. Now we're both run by the Republicans, so it's okay for us to fill this seat, even though there's an election coming up. And then, if you want, you can go to him and say, well, Mitch, you said we should let the voters decide. Well, they did. Hillary Clinton got more votes than Donald Trump. So didn't the voters of America say Hillary, a Democrat, should fill that vacancy that you held on? I did get to have fun. Merrick Garland came to Kentucky to our Metro Hall, which used to be the county courthouse, and had a meeting with our mayor. And I was able to tell his peeps, you've got to tell the general on his way home that he was just meeting in the office that Mitch McConnell designed and occupied for 7 years as county judge executive, which is neither here nor there, but it was kind of fun. And flying back, Garland got a kick out of that. I have never run into any of his people since, but someday I will bump into them because I still go to the State of the Union about half the time.
Oh, really? Okay.
Once a member, always a member. No extra pension, no extra insurance, but always get members' privileges in the building and on Capitol grounds. So I can park a car. I tell one of the Capitol police officers, and we actually have little IDs they gave us after 9/11 to show that we're a former member. Although who would ever want to claim that? But they will let you park pretty much anywhere. They're very gracious.
That's very good to know. Going back to Trump, and why does he want to be president? To enrich his family. How much money is enough for them? To get more people to stay at their hotels. how much of it is that? I mean, certainly he gets attention. We get our New York Times print edition delivered every day. And every day I look, how often is Trump mentioned on the front page? He's great at creating headlines, absolutely great. And so, what is his motivation? And the second part of that is how, in God's name, does he manage always to have the attention on him and new headlines? So
It's narcissism first and foremost. It's greed. No question, it's greed. There is no amount of money that is too much for him. A guy who will sell Bibles to make money clearly has no limit on how much money he wants to make. And it's revenge. He is the kind of guy who not only sees the glass as half empty, he's going to find the SOB who took the other half.
Mm.
That is all. Revenge is, that's one of the book titles, Revenge, about
And
him.
how does he manage to make headlines every day? I don't because
He is one of the best messengers we've ever had in national politics, first off. And secondly, he doesn't care what he says. He would say the earth is flat if it would distract people from the letter in the Epstein birthday book. He literally, lying is so, I was thinking when he was being asked about the letter in the book, is a reporter who didn't care ever to go back to the White House could have said, Mr. President, since are a proven liar over all these years, do you think that's going to hurt your ability to carry this lie across? But apparently it doesn't. And he lies with such it's just second nature to him. And he learned that he was brought up to do that. He was raised to lie.
He also manages, this always amazes me to say, when he's asked about certain things, I don't know, I didn't watch it, I didn't read it. And I thought, shouldn't you be a little embarrassed when it's a particularly important thing and you just say, I don't know, I don't know.
It works. It works.
But he sounds like an idiot to me, but I mean, I don't like him anyway, so of course, but I mean, I would be embarrassed if it's important and somebody says, what's going on in your school? That, gee, I don't know, I didn't read the latest email. I mean, give me a break.
Remember when he was criticized for speaking at a third grade level? That is his hidden power. That's his secret power, because it allows him to communicate with people so simply. Fake news. I mean, I think the first time he really said it was when the New York Times or somebody said that his family had met with Russian spies during the campaign.
Yeah, Russiagate, yeah.
Russiagate, and he just said fake news. So, which is really not, what is fake news? That's not news if it's fake, but he just is so facile, so easily lies. Can you imagine being around him? That's what I think about.
No, I don't think Melania can either.
We also have to remember who his mentor was, Roy Cohn, who always said, deny, deny, deny. And he has followed that.
Yep. And it's worked.
Yeah.
And sue back. Remember, Roy Cohn was the guy who sued the Housing and Urban Development Cabinet. I think it was that cabinet when they first exposed his not renting to black folks, or to redlining, to sending white folks to one unit and black folks to another complex.
Yeah, I think the thing about Trump that I remember is he could absolutely charm you. He would make you think. I know I have told you that when I interviewed him, he said, it's good to see you again. And of course, he'd never seen me before in his life.
But you interviewed him in person?
I did. I interviewed him in the Trump Tower, and he came down the escalator with me. And when I came in, he said, "It's just so good to see you again." And I said, "Thank you very much. You'd never seen me before." He was absolutely charming. The reason I interviewed him is when New York City was trying to finish building its skating rink, and it was taking forever. He came along and rebuilt it in 2 weeks and was the most popular person in New York. He was personable, he was likable. He would have absolutely fooled me, except for that lie. When he said to me, "It's good to see you again," I think I might have really been charmed by him.
Uh-huh. Interesting. I just want to mention, I used to go to the Trump Tower because they had a great bathroom, and that golden escalator was actually very short. It would go down. You would see a store with Trump memorabilia. This is years ago. Marble floor and a long line. Barbara, I think you may have been there also. Long line to the bathroom, but a very nice bathroom. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Politicians who make small salaries in Senate or House of Representatives, but become millionaires. What's going on with that? I mean, you read another story, Democrats and Republicans. What's up with that?
Well, first off, Ralph, I'm going to tell you something you've heard before. Don't believe everything you read.
Oh,
Fake
no.
news, huh? Fake news again?
Yeah, because I've seen those Twitter posts and stuff, and I I keep thinking I need to do a little research, but then I remember the schmucks who are posting them, and I say, "Oh, forget that." But politicians, there is no secret sauce or formula. If you're in a committee meeting and you hear something and then go trade stock on it, that should be illegal. Yeah, of course. But they're the ones about Democrats. I'm skeptical of because we're just not very good business people generally.
So tell us more about Mitch McConnell, what he's like, and how does he deal with the fact that I feel sorry for him. His appearance is always attacked. He looks like a turtle, and people say really nasty, nasty
He
things.
loves it. He puts those cartoons on his wall.
Wow.
I was up there, young guy who I've worked with for years, got elected to Congress for the seat that I held. And so I went up to see him get sworn in. And as I was leaving the Capitol building, I decided to leave by the Senate side, walk by Mitch's leader's office. This was in January 23. And I saw his Capitol police officer was out front. So I knew he was there, went in and ended up visiting with him for a while. Because, lots of evil people are fun to chat with. But he immediately showed me a portrait of past leaders, the leader that he overtook to become the longest serving leader in the Senate. I mean, here's a guy who has no reason to try to impress me. Again, known me all these years. I live like 12 blocks away from him. My son lives at the other end of his block, actually. And it was the day that he broke the record. So I will give him that. It was the day they were all sworn in for their new terms. And that was the day he broke the record. But that's what he was talking about to me, not to a donor, not to somebody he's trying to impress, but just to the last guy who came in the office that day. So he's like any of us. He likes the attention, but he really does have an ideological desire to do these terrible things that he's done. But he's willing to be flexible on other ideology, but he's also very strategic. I'll give you a quick example. As part of his efforts to keep any campaign finance reform from happening, but rather to do everything he could to allow as much money into politics as he could, he also opposed the constitutional amendment to ban flag burning. on free speech grounds, because his argument is that political money is speech. And so to keep consistent with that argument, he took an unpopular position in Kentucky of supporting flag burning as a form of political dissent.
Interesting.
And
Okay.
I have my own history with that. The first substantive vote I cast as a member of the Kentucky House of Representatives in Frankfort was on flag burning. And the vote was 90-2. 8 people took a walk because they didn't want to vote the wrong way, but it was 80-2. And I was among, one of the 2 who voted essentially in support of burning the flag. And it never hurt me in my legislative race. In the congressional race, when you lose by 0.6% for reelection, you can find anything. Not being as good looking as I thought I was probably my biggest problem.
Well, you're better looking than Mitch McConnell. I want you to know that.
But Mitch loves that stuff. He
Yeah.
loves the attention. He loves getting under people's skin. Don't discount that.
Does it
Wow.
well.
And his relationship with Trump. Go ahead, Carol.
He does it well. I was wondering, did you represent the same district that Morgan McGarvey now serves?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
That's
And say it again.
that's my district. So thank you.
Oh, well, yeah, you live in Jefferson County, Kentucky.
I do.
It looks familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, Carol was lived with us in Manhattan and moved down to Louisville, a whole nother world, isn't it, Carol?
It is. And we moved in 99 and it took me a while. I remember going downtown for the first time and thinking you can see so much sky from downtown as opposed to Manhattan. Yeah. But I love it here, and the people are genuinely hospitable, and there's a hospitality here that can't be touched.
Is it appropriate for me to ask what brought you to Kentucky in 1999? If it's not, don't worry.
So my husband came here to attend the Presbyterian seminary.
My mom went there.
Did you?
Yeah, but
He had an
we
accounting
get a.
practice here. He sold his accounting practice and came here, and the nice Jewish boy that I married ended up a Presbyterian minister.
I think I know you guys. Where is his church?
He died about 5 years ago, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. He served churches in across the river.
Okay.
In Indiana, Clarksville.
Well, oh, okay. It's amazing, and you've discovered this, Carol, and it's interesting to compare to New York, which is a huge metropolitan area, but is very distinct. If you're a New Yorker, you're a New Yorker. If you're in New Jersey and Connecticut, et cetera. And Kentucky Louisville is very much like that. 20% of our metropolitan area population lives in southern Indiana, but we don't. There's just very little back and forth. I mean, people go to work and stuff, but other than that, it's amazing how distinct they are. And has that been your experience, Carol?
Yes, quite so. And I wanted to also add something about Andy Beshear, because 2 points that you made. First, that he was, interested in people, but his response on the ground to things that are happening here. I mean, his response during COVID was astounding. He had daily press conferences with Stephen Stacks, the doctor, and really made it personal and really, brought it home to people. And we've had a number of bad weather events around here. We've had like major tornadoes and flooding. Right. He is on the ground there. He is there. He's, constantly, supporting, saying we're here for you and this is what we're going to do. And no, the FEMA money hasn't come yet. The FEMA money is going to come. We're on that. He's very hands-on and genuine. So,
Carol, I'm really glad you mentioned the COVID briefings. I should have said that, because that was for months and months, every day at 5 o'clock. And it was appointment viewing because we were all stuck at home. And he was open and honest, and it really helped him get 10,000 hours of experience in something. We all know that notion. And he got experience in doing press and doing updates and answering press questions and being on camera. And it really helped him. He was markedly different in his skills after that. And he developed a relationship with people. You know, the old thing about TV, that you're letting somebody in your living room, that you really feel as if you know this person. And of course, now I can't help, I got another story. So a synagogue here in town had Milton Berle to come and do a benefit program, a fundraiser. And I worked for the county judge executive at the time, Mitch's successor, ironically, and went out to give him a proclamation welcoming him to Louisville. And I'm sitting there all through the show thinking, and it was in a sanctuary of a synagogue. And I'm thinking there all the time, do I try to make a joke? I mean, it's Milton Berle. Do I try? And so I go up there, and I'd thought of one basic premise, but he set me up perfectly. I walk up and he says, Mike Ward, Goy meets Burl. And clearly one he had used before. And I immediately, since I had it locked and loaded, I was able to say, well, Mr. Burl, I appreciate that because, you know, some of my best friends are comedians because everybody took a breath just like you all did. And it couldn't have worked better. And I have the video. So some of my best friends are comedians. And he liked it to the point where he was annoyed.
That's great.
I could see in his face. He was annoyed that I got a laugh.
You stole some of his attention.
Yeah,
So I have
that's
a
his
question
job.
for Mike and for Carol. Rand Paul, his father, Ron Paul, definitely wild cards as far as I can see. I would love to know what you think about them and how much support they're getting down there. And I mean, and again, who the hell are they? You know, what is it really this all about?
About any time the Rand Paul opens his mouth, I disagree with him. And I think I think there was one issue that he voted on that surprised me and pleased me in his, that I'm aware of in his Senate term. But he's, you know, Mitch McConnell gets so much more airtime than he does. And of course now it's Trump, you know, nobody gets airtime. It's all Trump, Trump, Trump.
Do you remember what show it was that you said there was one thing he did?
I don't remember if it was during the confirmation hearings, like voting against one of the people who should have been voted against, and he actually showed, you know, some spine and did that, but I can't remember exactly who.
There's something on Twitter today where he was asked, he was doing an interview and talked about the boat from Venezuela that our military blew up. He said that boat was
killed.
Yeah, 11 people killed. And he said that boat was 2,400 miles from the United States. They could have been going to, I forget what he said, you know, to Jamaica.
Guatemala or whatever, yeah, right.
Wow.
But so he is an interesting guy. I know him a little bit. Of course, Ron Paul is from Texas, but Rand Paul married a girl from Kentucky and moved here. That's how he got to Kentucky. And when he was running for Senate, it came out that when his 10-year time to take the boards to be recertified as an ophthalmologist came up, he got his father-in-law to agree to be the chair of a board that they established themselves to certify him as a board-certified ophthalmologist. So he's willing to do what it takes. And he is a contrarian. He's been a burr in Mitch's saddle for the entire time. He got elected in 10. So it's going to be 16 years that Mitch had to deal with him. And, you know, couldn't happen to a nicer guy. It's really fun to watch. But Mitch has done the best he could with the guy. But I think Rand Paul is an example of somebody who is willing to do what it takes, like create an ophthalmology board. I mean, think of how slimy that is. But at the same time, he's got an ideological focus that he follows. He voted against Kennedy. Did he vote against Kennedy for cabinet, or it was somebody? I remember.
What was going on at once? So many
Yeah.
things.
Another quick question before we wrap up, unless other people would like to comment or ask questions. Going back to our good friend Mitch, his wife, Elaine Chao, who worked for Trump Transportation Secretary, is Asian, and Trump, I think, is an out and out racist. How did Mitch deal with that? Mitch, my good friend, how did he deal with that?
Right. He just sucks it up and goes. Elaine is great. I met her when they were dating. And he just says, Mike, this is Elaine Chao, and Elaine, this is Mike Ward. He's my state rep. I was his state representative. Because Carol, he lives not far from you, right off the Douglas Loop. But Elaine was director of the Peace Corps. So I had been associate director, I had been a Peace Corps volunteer. It was before I was associate director, but we had a natural affinity, and then we ended up commuting a lot together. Mitch, doesn't care what somebody says about his wife. He just sucks it up and keeps on going.
So you really need to use another Yiddish word. In addition to schmuck, you need a tough tuchus to survive.
He does have a tough tuchus. And
Okay.
he has a tough tuchus, but he's more than willing to do bupkis about it.
That's great. Anybody else who would like to come in, comment, ask questions? Mike, this has really been wonderful. Carol, thank you again for making the connection, and of course for being here today as well. So can we all thank both Mike and Carol? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Take care.
It was a wonderful session.
Okay, yes, definitely. And stay in touch, Mike. And
I will. Thank you so much. I'm
okay.
welcome to do a guest shot anytime.